to look into producing his own forage and doing all of these things. That is why I mentioned the fact that we need to concentrate national efforts towards producing these forages and making them available as an option for purchase. All right. So that way a producer can just pay attention to feeding these animals, growing these animals, getting performance out of them, and not necessarily have to think of where I'm going to get that type of feed from, where I'm going to get this type of feed from. So you make forage feeds just as available and just as accessible as the commercial concentrates.
We have Marcia Lord with her hands up. Marcia.
Good morning, Marcia Lord. I'm Grenada. Just I've listened to Mr. Dean, and in his presentation he has mentioned where lemongrass has used as a forage to prevent pneumonia in small ruminant. I will just like him to explain a little bit more which one of the small ruminant he's speaking about, and how effective, this lemongrass was, this forage, how it was being used and tested in which one of the small ruminant. It sounds very interesting to me, lemongrass. Thank you.
All right, Marcia, thank you for your question. I was given an example within the wider context of the mere fact that we have a lot of herbs and all different kinds of plants, all different kinds of bushes, leaves, and this and that. And some of them have nutraceutical, pharmaceutical, they have different types of properties. And I use the example of the lemongrass because it is one of my most recent experiences. And the animal that I used it with was rabbits. We noticed that the rabbits had a significant amount of congestion. They were coughing. And it's a hutch that has about 30 odd animals. And this was obviously not done under supreme scientific conditions. However, what we did was, after knowledge of lemongrass or fever grass being used in humans to help with alleviating similar types of condition, symptoms, coughing and whatnot. Then what we did was to just harvest some of the lemongrass, not give the rabbits too much. Like I said, we gave them about 20 grams each, and it alleviated the symptoms after 2 days. They stopped coughing, the nasal discharge cleared up, and that is without using any type of antibiotic or anything like that. So that was just an example that I was giving, but it's to point us in the direction of the wider understanding of how we utilize what we have at our disposal. We have a lot of forages that we can use to do many different things.
So, Mr. Averill, just a question here. Sorry. Oh, I didn't have my hand up. Oh, I was just asking if there is only rabbits you did that experiment with, or that little trial, not an experiment, but more of a trial.
Yes, it was a trial. Yes, only rabbits.
Ian?
Yes, go ahead.
I also want to share on something. Also, our tree forages such as moringa, they have a lot of health benefits because I've been using that with the rabbits and the goats. And the goats do pretty well health-wise and stuff like that. They are antioxidants, they be antibiotical properties and stuff like that. Just to name one of them. Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
You hear me?
Yeah, man.
As you came on that point, I just say, let me interject and see something.
Thank you very much, Kerry, for that addition. I see Nicole has a hand up. Nicole, could you go ahead?
Yes, good morning to everyone. And Mr. Averill, in his presentation, he would have mentioned the importance of having good forage quality for our livestock or ruminants on a whole. What I would say is that one has to place a lot of emphasis or on the harvest frequency or the harvest interval of our forages to ensure that we have good quality for our ruminants. And this, by improving the quality of our forage, we will see a decrease in the lignin value, and this will help to improve on the intake, forage intake, the passage rates, and the overall digestion of our forages. And ultimately, we're going to see an improvement in the performance of our ruminants. So this is something that I think we need to place a lot of emphasis on. That is the harvest frequency or intervals of our forages. I would say in St. Vincent, we have a lot of our agro-industrial byproducts that are underutilized. And I think we need to encourage our farmers to incorporate these forages, these agro-industrial byproducts in the ration of their ruminants. And this ultimately is going to improve on their performances in terms of milk yield, in terms of meat production. And I would say one of the challenges that we face, for example, we look at here, we have the cocoa company. We are producing chocolate, and you have a lot of the cocoa bean shell that is being wasted. And also you have like the cassava peel and so on. But one of the challenges that we face is the anti-nutrients that are present. For example, the cocoa, you have the theobromine, and the cassava, the cyanide, and so on. With the cassava, through fermentation and heating, we can reduce the cyanide to a level that is safe for our ruminants. However, with the theobromine, for the de-theobromination, it's a challenge. I don't know if anyone has any experience working with the cocoa byproducts, let's say the husk, the shell, the bean shell. I don't know if anyone out there has experience that they would like to share in relation. Hello?
Thank you for that contribution, Nico. Definitely, we would ask persons if they do have that experience to share it with us in the chat, and also perhaps to link with you so that you could get that information. Very important points and very important sharing there, Nico. Any other person here before we go out in the breakout groups? Or if we get that kind of momentum with the questions and comments, definitely we would want to continue a bit before we go to the breakout groups. But if not, we would go straight into the breakout groups so that we could share and conclude the session. Any other comments? Open the mic, show of hands. Okay, on my side, I'm not seeing any more hands raised or any mics being opened.
I'm not seeing anything either.
All right, then Nick, then could you take us to the breakout groups, please, Nigeria?
Okay, so for the breakout group, we have Mr. Avril's team. I have actually merged some groups. Some countries have only 1 or 2 persons, so you will see you will be joined with another country. So what will happen is we have these 2 questions that you will have dialogue on and answer. I will put in let me just put in the link to the Google form in the chat. So one person will be assigned, the group will assign 1 person to fill out the form. And once completed, you submit. You don't have to submit immediately. You could always wait and submit after. And the team member with Mr. Avril will give you some background on the experiences on the topic at hand. So this is what the breakout group will be in terms of dialoguing. So I will send everyone into the breakout groups now.
Thank you.
So the breakout rooms will be about 20-25 minutes. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I do hope the discussions were engaging and we got a lot of information there. So right now, I would like that any of the group volunteer to give just a quick summary of what they discussed on the 2 questions and what, for those who would have had one of the team members from Mr. Avril, some of the discussions there. Thank you.
Okay, perhaps I could go first here,
Okay,
if
no
I'm
problem.
allowed to share the screen. Colleagues, the idea here is that we realize that some of the barriers and will be, and perhaps even some of the actions may be very similar. And so if for example, as I'm going to present, if these things are already said in other groups there, then we do not need to actually repeat them. We are going to look for more differential contributions, things that are different from what is there to add value to the discussion, whether rather than repeat it. So in my group, there's predominantly the Jamaican persons from Jamaica, and they identified some of the barriers. One of the barriers that came up very early is the barrier of predial larceny or theft, as we common persons refer to it as. One of the participants also mentioned that there are market opportunities. Largely, the market is underserved in Jamaica as it relates to small ruminants, goat, etc. And they also emphasize the need for, in terms of a barrier, that there's a barrier where people are not aware of the real business opportunities that exist to actually get into that particular production or industry or sector. And they felt also the access and dissemination of information as it relates to that was a barrier, in addition to the access to lands. The participants also took note of the lack of the proper record keeping system, particularly for herd development and also production and productivity assessments of performance. And there was also contributions on the production barriers, where it was highlighted that there's insufficient private sector interest, involvement, and investment, and also a high input cost as it relates not only to medication, but also the feed. And the last comment we got on the barriers is one of the issues of the hygienic slaughtering facilities in terms of the standard. We were not able to get as many of the actions as we did for the barriers. I'm hoping that perhaps we could get from the other groups there. But one of the things that were mentioned was there's a need for a comprehensive small ruminant policy. There's also a need to generally increase the production of meat by placing more emphasis on ruminant nutrition as it relates to forage and fodder production. So that is what we got from our group. Largely consisted of the Jamaican. There were, I think, one at this Trinidadian that I noticed here, but I think some of these things may be relevant to the other countries. Thank you very much. Group members, if there's anything that I missed, feel free to jump in there. Thanks.
Maybe I can go next myself. Thank you for that, Cheney. I think what you said, much of what my group overlooked a little bit, but we focused mostly, well, the group focused mostly on foraging. My group was within Guyana and Suriname, which they spoke quite much on the disparity between large and small scale farmers with regards to access to good quality forage materials and feed. This would also include pricing. This would also include the type of materials and the cost to getting those materials, whether it be grown here or even imported. They go further to speak on the high dependency of natural grasslands for foraging and the utilization of only one species of grass type. This was predominant because of the type of quality and animals that they would be receiving within the two countries altogether. With regards to the actions to eliminate or to address these barriers, they spoke on government intervention, particularly research-based with regards to foraging materials that can be utilized within the countries, since majority of what is being done is grass-fed. And they also spoke on the preparation of silage, since that is not a practice, particularly here in Guyana and Suriname. You might have a few farmers, but that's generally what it is. Strictly natural fed in the grasslands.
Thanks for that, for your team. Forrest, any other group would like to present anything that they would have had different from the two groups that went before?
Yeah, morning, Natalia, Damien.
Good morning, Damien.
Trust everyone is good. Yeah, well, my group, we had quite a few participants from Antigua, and we also had representation from Dominica and Bahamas. And what I found different, in fact, specifically coming out from Antigua, was the whole issue of drought as being one of the limiting factors preventing people from getting into livestock production. Because, of course, if you don't have forage or land and water to support the production of such, then this, of course, would be a tremendous barrier. The other thing that we found, I mean, we spoke about, or mention was made of theft, but we found animal predation was also a barrier for people getting involved. Lack of knowledge in terms of the actual skills in livestock husbandry was one of the barriers mentioned in the Bahamas. And of course, the cost of substitutes, the cost of low-cost substitutes of the meat that is being imported would also be an impact that would prevent people from taking business opportunities. So just wanted to add that. Similar to what Cheney had mentioned, we didn't go too far into the strategies to address some of these barriers, but we spoke about policy directives, training in how to convert the forage into convenient feed at the farm level, and of course funding, and creative ways in which we can perhaps pool resources together as in cooperatives and look at things like cryptocurrencies and ways to create funding or create capital to support the initiatives.
Thanks very much, Damien. Anybody else wants to go ahead and add anything? Yes, Nicole, I could see your hand.
Yes, yes. I am reporting for St. Vincent, and we would have touched on several barriers. Well, the other groups who would have presented would have mentioned quite a few of those barriers. But I would add that we look at as a barrier the increase in the incorporation of indigenous feeds in the ration of ruminants, because we know that commercial feed is not a lot of farmers out there can afford to purchase or incorporate commercial feeds in the ration of their ruminants. So if they place more emphasis on utilizing what is being produced or what we have in the country, that will help to reduce the production cost. Also, many of the farmers, they are landless. So a lot of farmers out there, they want to improve on, probably increase the acreage of their pastures or incorporate new species of forages that can improve on the overall performance of their ruminants, but due to their landless state, they are unable to do so. So one of the solutions that we look at is the formation of cooperative in which these farmers, they can join together and lease, there's a possibility that they can lease lands as a group, and this can help to improve on that problem or that barrier. Also, we would have touched on predial larceny. That seems to be a deterrent for a lot of young farmers because investing a lot into farming and at the end of the day, not being able to harvest what he would have invested is it's a deterrent for many of those farmers, young farmers. Oh.
Okay, thank you for that addition there, Nicole. Go ahead, Dean.
Just a couple things to add. We did mention a lot that has been mentioned already. One of the things that came out in my group as a barrier is the lack of knowledge or understanding between things that happen within the production cycle or the production of animals and how it is connected to the products that come out of the livestock production system. So we have the example of apiculture, for example, where certain farmers would utilize certain plants in order to develop a flavor profile for honey, and how certain plants would help affect the flavor profile of honey. That I found was particularly interesting. So the solution, of course, to that would have been utilizing some type of capacity building educational platforms to help people understand better how you use forages or how you use plants within the production system to help impact on the value added component of livestock. We talked about the same type of process and alignment with national initiatives and governmental strategies, obviously, how these would help to guide, the types of production systems that we do, how we do certain things within production. So there was that addition that we had to make.
Thank you for that input there. Then if we could get one more, if one more group would like to say anything additional there. If not, then we will move now into the closing remarks from Ainsworth Riley of Jamaica, Eco Technician. Ainsworth.
Thank you very much, Nikila. Colleagues, I think this was, I hope everybody's hearing me. So I think the session has been a very informative and quite useful. Many of us are, based on the feedback, many of us are probably, involved in this production of small ruminants. So we're already, engaged in the system. So some of the things that Mr. Avril would have pointed out, some of us may be familiar with some of those, with some of the information, as well as we would have been beneficiaries of the additional information that he would have provided. So I want to say special thanks to Mr. Avril. He and I go back, in some other life. We have worked together on a number of projects, and so I'm quite familiar with him. So I want to say thanks to you, Mr. Avril, for presenting to us, for sharing with us this information, small ruminant production. You paid special emphasis on the impact of climate change on forage dependent feeding systems, the value and role of high quality forage in combating challenges with forage feeding, and of course, strategies towards building climate resilience forage feeding systems through increased utilization of local forages. One of the learning experiences that I have gathered in working with the small ruminants over the years is that when there's need to be a mindset change as it relates to climate change, that we need to at least maybe adopt the principles of countries in the northern hemisphere, the far northern hemisphere, where they have a winter period where they have to ensure that they grow during the springtime and harvest, and of course they are able to feed the animals through winter. And for us, it's the opposite, right? We need to ensure that we grow when we have a lot of rain. See that most of our systems are based on rain-fed system. So we need to ensure that we grow during the rainy season, and of course we develop the systems to reap and to harvest, right? That is very critical. So I thank you very much for the information you have provided, Mr. Avril. Just give me a second here, my system went down. Let me also thank the coordinators of the program. Special thanks to Nikilia and our technical colleagues for coordinating and for planning the sessions. And of course, Nikilia for touching bases with us from time to time to ensure that we are kept abreast of the schedule. Thank you very much. Thanks to the team. And of course, we couldn't have had a successful session with you, all the participants, right? I am quite impressed when I look at the numbers. Actually, when I came in late because I had another session. I thought I was seeing something like 90 something. And then because we got bumped off, the numbers went down to 73. But even at the end of a session, to have 73 participants, that is highly commendable. So participants, I want to thank you for your participation. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for the questions. And of course, thank you for the information that you have provided out of your own personal country experiences. And I hope that you will continue. I think we have one more session we have. Nikita, remind me, one more session we have?
Yes, we have one final session. I will give a few more information on that after you
complete. Right, so yeah. I'm hoping that the participants here will also make themselves available for the next upcoming session. So again, everybody, thank you very much for participating. And I wish you Godspeed, and remember, please to keep safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, and those who haven't yet been vaccinated, please get vaccinated. Thank you.
One question, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello? Will you hear me?
Will the participant get a participating certificate?
Yeah, I was just about to comment on that as the last house thing here. Colleagues, I want to also thank you for being part of that. Those of you that have been on all the three forums. From the beginning, we did present the information that persons who would have attended three or four of the forums would be receiving a certificate that is based upon the theme of the entire webinar. So that is being done. In addition, we also mentioned that there is also the last session that we are going to have. We are going to be sharing the experiences of interventions in the countries. There are several interventions by the way of projects. And we are also hoping to select persons. We will speak a little bit more about that. Nicola will be sending you a note about that in terms of actually providing some value for persons that would have attended by way of an in-kind contribution for purchasing certain elements or to help start off or improve your production system, whether on an institutional or individual basis. So these are the two things that we said from the beginning of the seminar, which we are the points of differentiation. Yes, you're going to, once you have met these criteria, you are going to be awarded a certificate if you attend 3 or more of the sessions. And if you have attended all 4 sessions, it would qualify you to participate in a process that we have in selecting candidates or persons from at least 1 or 2 persons from each country to award them an in-kind contribution for the purchase of, let's say, tools, very small equipment. They're not a vast amount of persons. I'm being very clear here, so that they could at least start to implement what they have learned. That is what ICA is known for, trying to translate the knowledge into action on the ground. So we are committed to try and design our system and our initiatives to allow that to happen. So thank you very much. I'm hoping that cleared things up. Thanks.
Okay, we have any other questions that we would like address before we close? Okay, so if not, so our final forum is scheduled for November 10th. And as Chinny mentioned, we will look at some of the work that ICA has been doing across the region in terms of enhancing climate responsive agriculture in the Caribbean. So we gave you the free forums touched on the forage, the soil, the water, the climate. And then, so now we want to give you an idea of the results that we are getting, the impact that these projects have been having. And we also look forward to even building further on these forums, as we are not able to touch on everything on all the topics. So we will have, hopefully in the coming year, we will have local or even more regional again sessions for you, the participants. So if we don't have any more questions or any more comments, we'll close off. And I want to say again, thank you so much for joining. And I wish everyone a very lovely day.
Thank you very much, Nicolia. And we do invite you to the next session to also share with us projects that you have been involved in. So we very much look forward to hear about these projects there so that we could make sense of all of them and identify the gaps or collaborative opportunities. So come ready with your projects, even those you are suggesting and you would have been involved in. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.
All right, have a great day, everybody.